Y'all gonna tear me up for this one. Now, you knew that when you met him and he had 4 kids and 3 baby mamas that you should have been running for the hills. That's something that your parents should have taught you. Hey girl, hey guy, it's Ty, and welcome back to another episode of Ty's Adulting Handbook. On this channel, we discuss all things practical life skills, personal development, and things you wish your parents would have taught you in order to prepare for this thing called life. On this episode, we're actually going to talk about what my channel is surrounded around, right? Why it even exists. What are some things that you feel like you wish your parents would have taught you in order to prepare for this thing called life? Do you feel like they really should have taught you more about credit and financial literacy? What about debt? What about student loans? What about boundaries, right? How to be able to pay attention to how people are trying to get too close to you to possibly take advantage of you. How to have those kind of conversations. What about integrity, right? Always doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Dating red flags, knowing that the person that you're dealing with or you have dealt with, you should have never been dealing with them, right? And if you were possibly taught some of these things, you feel like you would have been farther along in life. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about that I feel like I should have been taught more about was definitely financial literacy. A lot of times with growing up, especially in the community, people don't talk about credit. People don't talk about credit. They don't talk about debt and things of that nature, right? So an experience that I had, I want to say I was about maybe 25 or 26 years old at this time. This was when I got my first credit card. Didn't know anything about credit, was never taught about credit. I applied for my first credit card, got approved. This company, they approved me for a $3,000 credit limit. At 25, 26, getting approved for a $3,000 credit limit. So with that, I used it for, I feel like the first thing that I used it for was responsible, but one thing again about credit, no one tells you, okay, pay it off within 30 days, pay it off in full within 30 days, understand what the statement date is. Don't only focus on the monthly payment. How much is the interest rate, right? So got approved for the credit card, $3,000 limit. I had to get tires on my car at the time, and it was like a 2017 Chevy Cobalt 2-door coupe. It was my first car. And with getting in that car, I had my credit card, and I told my mom, I was like, hey, I got approved for a credit card and I need to get tires. She was like, oh yeah, put it on there, put the tires on there. Okay, that was all that was said to me, and I'm just like, okay. And then did that, and I can't remember how many tires I got, but pretty much purchased the tires, get the statement in the mail, and y'all already know the statement. The monthly payment was probably like $30, and I'm like, oh, we're good. I just got me some new tires, only $30 a month. Oh, I can swing that. Okay. No one talked about interest. No one talked about whatever amount you put on there, pay it off in full in 30 days. Don't carry a balance over until the next month. This is something that I wish that somebody would have taught me. So funny enough, I'm still with that. I still actually have that card, and it's something that I was just like, man, if somebody would have explained it to me, and that one little line that my mom said to me was like, yeah, you can use it. You can use your credit card for that. If she would have said, only put on the card what you can pay off in full within 30 days, that would have changed everything for me. Because you know what happened? Being 25, 26, probably only making so much income, racked up the card. And after a while, you feel like, man, I'm always making payments on this, but I'm not paying it off. And it took me years to even realize that, because when you're younger and you get a credit card, you're like, oh, I just make the monthly payments. But typically what people don't look at their statements. They don't itemize it to see what's going on. They don't see the extra interest, right? So comment down below. Let me know if you have a similar story, because even though that was some time ago, now in my mind, I operate so much more differently with any type of credit card, the statement date, the interest, and all of those things, right? So the next one that we're going to get into is boundaries. It's super important to be able to have boundaries with people, meaning for myself, right? I am a person that once I moved out and started living on my own, and I actually moved out into another state, I was not okay with people just coming to my house to hang out. My boundaries were very strict, very strong, and things like that. And I don't know if there's anyone out there, and I'm sure it is. It's a lot of people out there that struggle with boundaries. They struggle with telling people no, right? They struggle with not texting somebody back or answering, declining the call when their phone rings and it's this person and things like that. I'll tell you now, it's okay to say no. Trust me, they will be okay. So something that happened to me with a couple of my friends, and this is nothing towards them, I'm not being malicious or anything, but this is where I'm just giving you an example of where my boundaries are important to me, right? So they wanted to come to Houston, where I currently reside. We're all originally from Atlanta, and I think at that time I was probably posting content and stuff online. It's like, they're seeing where I'm at out in Houston in the city, things like that. And then one of them reached out to me just to message me, and she wanted to come out to Houston. I was like, okay, girl, let me know when you come. Now, we all went to college together, and I know these two, they continue to be really close friends. So the one messaged me, and she was like, oh, Ty, you're in Houston, I want to come see you. And I was like, okay, let me know when you're coming, when you want to come and stuff like that. Kid you not, maybe 30 minutes later, the other one messaged me, or she texted me and was saying, hey, yeah, me and so-and-so were thinking about coming to Houston. And I was like, okay, cool. And she was like, so where do you stay? And I was like, well, I stay in this area. And pretty much the conversation was leading up to, they wanted to come in town and they wanted to stay at my house. Absolutely not. And it's nothing towards them personally, right? But this is just me and myself. Like, I have personal boundaries. Like, I go to work, I work hard for my stuff. My space wasn't set up to have two other people within my space as well. It's different if I was renting or paying for like a 3-4 bedroom house where everybody could have spread out and had their space. That's not how my setup was, right? But just understand, even if you feel like your parents didn't teach you about boundaries, it's okay to say no. If you have friends and people that are in your life that you tell them no, or, you explain yourself, which you don't have to, right? But if you choose to explain yourself and they don't understand, then they don't need to be in your space. See, my friend, she ended up saying they wanted to stay at my house. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't like people in my space. And we were texting it and she understood. And that was it, right? So it takes two mature people to be able to have a conversation in order to understand one another when it comes to boundaries. The next one that we're going to talk about is openness to change. Being willing to pivot as needed, being willing to change your environment in order to make sure you're getting the result and what it is that you want in your life. I know sometimes parents can never talk about this, but then you'll have some parents that want to keep you in arm's reach for your entire life. They never want to let you go. They never talk about you moving away or doing anything like that. I'll give my experience. So I'm originally from the south side of Atlanta, born and raised all my life. Worked for a company, loved the company. The company was awesome. And at that time, I was starting to feel a little wiped out as far as I was in the role for a while. It was starting to, like, I've hit certain milestones. And at that time, it was getting kind of boring. It was getting kind of boring with my job. I was living at home, and then the dating scene was just like, it was disgusting, and I wanted nothing to do with it. So I decided to move with a part of the team that was a part of the moving crew, where they were going to be opening some new offices with this company, and I decided to do that. Okay, it wasn't my original idea, but my manager said, hey, if you feel like things aren't moving for you here, take this opportunity, start fresh, new state, learn things from the ground up, and things of that nature, right? For myself, I had to be open for change. I had to open my mindset for things that I wanted to accomplish, because how I was raised, there was no leaving the house. It was more so like, you can live here as long as you want to. I'll cook for you, you stay here, and things of that nature, right? So what I'm telling you here as your virtual big sister, auntie, what have you, do what you need to do for yourself in order to elevate and grow. It's okay to open up your mindset to want to move somewhere else, right? It's okay that you may be scared to do it, but if you're making the money that you need to make, you can save the money to move. You've done your research. You're moving somewhere where you know this is somewhere that you want to be, where you can grow roots and do well for yourself. And a lot of times we need that push in life, right? We need to get from under our parents' roof in order to elevate and grow, to experience something different. I'll be honest, it was the best decision that I could have ever made for myself. One of the best decisions. So I encourage you, if you have opportunities in front of you, you feel like you're running in a rat race, living at home or in your city, everybody's making the same money, nobody's growing, nobody's elevating, it's just the same thing, I encourage you, move in order to elevate and grow. The next one that I'm going to talk about is integrity. Y'all might be thinking like, what does she have to say about integrity? This is what I'm saying. You have to make sure you're doing the right things when people are not looking. Okay? Because there is a major thing called karma. If you ever look at yourself and you're wondering why you feel like bad things are always happening to you and things just never go your way and other people get lucky and things like that, sometimes we have to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, did I deceive that person? Was I gossiping about this person? The person over there that gave me too much change back, did I give them that change back? Right? It's like an energy that does happen where it's like you want to do the right thing at all times, right? Especially when no one's looking. So I'll give an example with this one. I was raised, so this was something that was actually taught to me, right? But I was raised in a sense that if you're out somewhere in public and you see some money on the ground, if you don't know where it came from, it's yours. But if you see that this money fell out of somebody's pocket or purse, or you see who it came from, give it back to them, right? Because even though it's like, man, you may be dealing with your own stuff where that $20, $40, $60 you could have put in your pocket to fill up your tank and things like that. And y'all might be watching this and say, Ty is crazy. If I need gas money, that I'm gonna keep it. I mean, to each their own, right? I've had an experience where I was in Walmart in the electronics department, and I walked down the aisle and it was a bunch of cash just on the ground. It was a bunch of cash. So initially I'm like, oh, okay. It was nobody on the aisle, mind you. So I picked the money up and I held it in my hand and I just kind of walked around to observe if there was somebody that was looking for money or looking for something, right? I just observed. And this went on for about 30 seconds. It didn't go on for too long. So it was a guy, young guy, early 20s, and he had his little girl with him, and he was just walking around looking like he lost something, his money. And I walked up to him. I was like, did you lose this? And he was like, yes, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And he took the money and he went on. Now, some people may say, Ty, you crazy. I would have just pocketed that money. Or either, what if that wasn't even his money? The timing fit. The timing definitely fit the moment where it's like he was looking a little worried and frustrated, and he was walking around with holding his little daughter's hand, trying to find something, trying to look for something, right? So honestly, I just feel like when you do good things and you have a sense of integrity, it will come back to you. The next one that we're going to talk about is awareness. Do you feel like your parents taught you to have a sense of awareness? Now, and I mean this in both ways, right? Like, are you aware of how you carry yourself? Do you dress yourself properly? Is your hygiene on point? When you speak to someone, are you sarcastic? Are you rude? Are you mean? Or do you struggle to articulate yourself to get your words across, right? So that's something to be aware of. I'm curious, did your parents ever go over those things with you? Now, awareness on the other end, right? Are you aware of when people are being nasty to you? How do you handle that? Right? Are your eyes open and your antennas, are they up? That way you can understand what's going on. That's something that's really important to be aware of. when you're going out at night, are you aware of your surroundings and what's going on when people are just hanging out or there's no one there, right? One thing I can say for myself is that when I lived in a state by myself, my antennas were always up. My antennas were always up. I was never really out and about, out of the house like that. I was working and working out and things of that nature, but my awareness was on level 10. It was almost like if somebody would have tried it, good luck, because my awareness was always up. And you know, awareness comes in different ways, right? You have to deal with having awareness when you're working at your job and people are treating you unfairly. When you're walking around somewhere by yourself, you have to have a sense of awareness. You know, when you're driving your car, when you're talking on the phone with family members, don't gossip too much. You got to have a sense of awareness in all these things. So are you aware? So the next one that we're going to get into are dating red flags. Y'all gonna tear me up for this one. Now, you knew that when you met him and he had 4 kids and 3 baby mamas that you should have been running for the hills. That's something that your parents should have taught you. And on the other end, you know, when you met that girl and she had 3 kids and 3 baby daddies, that you should have been running for the hills. Don't get swindled into something. Make sure with dating red flags, pay attention to not only how many kids they have and how many partners, but also look at how do they handle their relationships with their family and their friends. How do they talk to their mom, right? Because it's a characteristic trait. If they talk bad about their mom or their friends, their friends, right? Family members in a negative way, and all they have to say are negative things, not things that are more so valid, but it's all negative, it's all backhanded, it's all shiesty. As soon as you do something to make them mad, they're going to do it to you too. You are not the exception, right? So with dating someone, make sure you're paying attention to their characteristics of how they deal with the people that have already been in their lives long before you. Because they do it to them, they're going to do it to you. Another one with that, make sure you don't date down. Everyone has potential, right? I believe that I would like to think that everybody or anybody that's watching my channel right now, they're of a certain age where you don't want to date anyone that you have to uplift, build up in that type of way, right? They should already be at a certain level. If you're out here working on yourself, elevating, growing, man or woman, whoever I'm talking to, right? All right, so a quick story time about a red flag. So there was a time where I was dating someone and we both worked. I met him, we worked at the same place. Now, mind you, I was working here temporarily because my primary job, things were just slow and I needed supplemental income for that time. When I met him, this was his full-time job. So it's funny when you meet somebody and at work, especially, like I knew this wasn't going to be my real job. So it wasn't a big deal that I was dating somebody that I was working with. So when you work with somebody, you don't know what kind of car they drive. You don't know how they live in. You don't know anything. So eventually I saw his car and it was like an older car and my car was newer. I didn't make it a big deal. I eventually went to his house. Him and his cousin lived together and I still didn't make it a big deal because I didn't know where things were even going. So it was fine, right? And then eventually I found out that he had a son, like a little boy. And okay, I was like, okay, that's another thing, right? And when it's so funny, when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't seem that bad. But when you tell your mom about the person or your best friend about the person, they're like, what are you doing, right? So when I was speaking about dating down, I realized anytime we would go anywhere, even if it was up the street to go to the store, he would always want me to drive my car because my car was newer and it was nicer. And it became a thing, like, where he never even invited me into his car one time or took the initiative to drive us wherever we were going. Now, I wasn't going to volunteer. I wasn't going to be like, are you going to drive us? Like, because I really didn't want to get in his car. But I just realized, like, okay, that's a thing. And then we never went on a date. It only lasted like 3 months, but we never went on a date. And it was something that he said that was like, it was like May. And he was like, yeah, when I go out on dates, I get real clean. Yeah, I'll probably be able to take you out on a date in like August. I still didn't catch it at first, but when I thought about what month it was and he said that about August, and he was like, yeah, I get real clean when I go out. And I'm just like, it was so interesting because seeing him in regular clothes, thinking back on it, like it would be, the stuff would be clean, but the style or just the quality, like it wouldn't be like Jordans or something. It would be some other Nike kind of, some kind of Nike. Like Nike will have these lines of shoes that are like you can buy them brand new, but they're not like the newest. It's not what people are familiar with. And I know I can sound a little bougie, but dealing with him, I never saw him really put on clothes. And I was just like, it was just so many things. And it was really one thing where the straw broke the camel's back. And I was just like, nah, I can't bring him home like to my mama and my auntie them. No, thank you. This, they gonna be thinking I'm crazy. And it was just like so many things that were red flags. And typically when we're in it, we don't see it, but you got to kind of go through the motion of it and pay attention, and you got to understand what your lifestyle and things would look like. And I think the last thing that the next to last thing that happened before the worst thing, he said to me, I act like I'm better than him. And I was just like, I said, I'm sorry, that wasn't my intention. Now, mind you, when we look at upbringing, I was kind of raised around like the suburbs of Atlanta, if you will, and I've been there my whole life. And from that, he grew up in the hood, and I never knocked him for that stuff. I don't care if you're willing to elevate, grow, have a good vocabulary, make a good living for yourself. That's what's important, right? You're being a good person, you're elevating yourself. But when he said that, I knew that was such a red flag where it was going to be a struggle where you want me to bring yourself down instead of you observing me and seeing that I act a certain way, I come off a certain way. You as a man, you think it's okay to say to a woman, you think you're better than me. And I was just like, red flag. We gotta run for the hills, because I'm never gonna dumb myself down or bring myself down for anybody. And as far as intentionally being malicious, that's not even my character, right? So that was my quick story time about my dating red flag, and I learned my lesson and I got away, and we're good now. All right, guys, so I didn't want to keep this one too long, but I definitely wanted to talk about this one because it's near and dear to my heart. It's the whole reason as to why my channel even exists, right? It's just going through life, and it's like things you wish your parents would have taught you in order to make your life a lot better. Looking at where you're at right now in life, what do you feel like your parents should have taught you? Comment down below. Sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I am able to see on the analytics that a lot of people are watching and enjoying, but these subscriptions and the likes are not adding up. So if you have any comments, questions, or anything, definitely put them down in the comment section. But thank you so much for watching another episode of Ty's Adulting Handbook, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.